Most people see old bottles, worn-out tires, and heavy stones as nothing more than trash. But what if I told you that hidden inside them is the secret to transforming your tiny yard into a place neighbors won't stop staring at? Today, we're not just building garden borders. We're crafting summer charm from the ground up. Welcome back to Mind Over Decoration. In this video, we'll explore 15 plus DIY bottle, tire, and stone borders, all designed to make your small garden, patio, or backyard bloom with personality. This video includes timestamps, so feel free to jump to the ideas you love most. And if you have questions, drop them in the comments. I read every one of them. Maybe to you, this is just another DIY video. But behind it, there's a real story and a real family. Every like, comment, and subscribe keeps this dream alive. One click doesn't just grow a channel, it gives hope. So if you find inspiration here, consider subscribing. It means more than you know. In the heart of a tiny garden, where space is often thought of as a limitation, there lies a secret that turns boundaries into beauty. Imagine a circle made of humble stones, some collected from old paths, some once overlooked near fences, now reborn as guardians of a fairy garden. Each stone, hand-painted with shades of mint, buttercream, and rose, tells a story of transformation. They are no longer just rocks. They are sentinels of color, forming a magical border that breathes life into the smallest of yards. Within the circle, summer blooms awaken. Lavender whispers with fragrance, marigolds stand proud in gold and orange, and tiny daisies scatter joy like stars in the daylight. Herbs like basil and thyme rise fresh and green, their leaves kissed by the sun. The garden seems to hum with an invisible energy, as if fairies themselves had chosen this ring as their dance floor. Creating such a wonder is simpler than it seems. Large stones can be cleaned, dried, and painted with outdoor-safe colors. Arrange them in a round formation, pressing them slightly into the soil for stability. Choose plants that thrive in summer, petunias, asters, or herbs, and plant them inside the circle. Water deeply, let the sun nurture them, and watch as this simple ring becomes a living artwork. Every glance at the fairy circle reminds us that recycling is not only about saving the planet, but about reimagining what beauty can be. From discarded stones to painted treasures, from plain soil to a vibrant bloom, this garden edging whispers softly. Even the smallest space can hold magic if we choose to see it. As the summer sun sets and the first stars awaken, the garden transforms into something unexpected, a place where trash has turned into light. Along the border of a tiny yard, simple plastic bottles, once destined for the bin, now glow like a necklace of lanterns. They stand side by side, painted in bright colors, emerald, sapphire, and amber, each one filled with a hidden spark of LED light. Together, they form a glowing garden edging that feels alive, humming softly against the night. The flowers within the border seem to dance in the glow. Petunias, with their soft petals, catch the colored light and reflect it back like stained glass. Marigolds blaze brighter in gold, while the herbs, basil, thyme, and mint, appear fresher and greener, kissed by the glow of recycled magic. This border does more than frame a garden. It draws the eye, inviting neighbors to stop and wonder. Creating it is a journey of patience and play. Bottles are first cleaned, labels peeled away, and then painted with safe outdoor colors. Holes are cut into the bottoms to insert solar-powered LED lights, or fairy string lights are coiled inside. Each bottle is then pressed firmly into the soil, side by side, forming a wall that is both sturdy and enchanting. The secret lies in simplicity. No need for expensive materials, no need for perfection. What matters is the glow, the transformation, and the joy of crafting beauty with your own hands. When darkness comes, the border reveals its true charm, turning the tiniest garden into a summer festival of light. And so, what was once considered trash becomes a nightly celebration, proof that magic can be found in even the most ordinary bottles. In a world where space often dictates dreams, creativity finds a way to grow. Old tires, once forgotten in garages or abandoned on roadsides, take on new life as vibrant vegetable beds. Painted in cheerful summer colors, turquoise, yellow, and mint, they become more than just containers. They become frames of abundance, where life springs boldly from recycled roots. Inside each tire, soil rests rich and dark, nurturing the seeds of tomorrow. Lettuce spills outward in ruffled layers of green. Cucumbers trail their vines lazily, and tomatoes blush red against the warm touch of the sun. Herbs like basil and parsley rise confidently, their leaves glossy with dew. Even in the smallest backyard or patio, these raised beds transform corners of neglect into thriving harvests. The making of a tire vegetable bed is simple yet deeply rewarding. The tire is first scrubbed clean and coated with bright or pastel outdoor paint. Some choose bold neon tones to capture attention, while others prefer rustic whitewash strokes for vintage charm. Once dry, the tire is set firmly on soil or patio ground, filled with nutrient-rich earth, and planted with vegetables suited to summer's warmth: tomatoes, peppers, lettuce, or zucchini. These raised beds offer more than beauty. Their height makes gardening easier for the back and knees. Their rounded walls hold warmth, helping vegetables grow faster and fuller. Their colors invite joy into the garden, while their purpose whispers of sustainability, turning what was once waste into nourishment. As days pass, the beds become overflowing bowls of life. A family harvests fresh cucumbers for salads, plucks herbs for soups, and gathers tomatoes still warm from the sun. Neighbors pause, curious, amazed at the transformation of old rubber into living art. And with each harvest, the garden quietly proves a truth. Recycling is not just about saving, it's about thriving. At the edge of a tiny garden, where space narrows into a hidden path, rises an archway made not from steel or cement, but from the humble gift of fallen branches. They lean into one another, bound by twine and trust, forming a gate that is more than an entrance. It is an invitation to step into a world of wonder. The branches, rough with bark, hold the memory of the trees they once belonged to. Now, they stand reborn, rising gracefully, their natural curves weaving into rustic symmetry. Around them, vines take their time to climb, morning glories with trumpets of blue, climbing roses bursting in crimson and blush, and ivy draping like a living curtain. As summer light filters through, petals catch fire with color, and the air hums with quiet magic. To create such an archway requires little more than imagination and patience. Sturdy branches are gathered, thicker ones for the frame, slimmer ones to weave across. They are planted deep into the soil or secured with stones at the base, then tied firmly together with rope or garden twine. Over time, climbing plants are introduced, chosen for fragrance, bloom, or evergreen charm. With each passing day, the arch grows richer, more alive, until it feels less like a structure and more like a doorway into another world. This archway is not just decoration. It is a marker of transition, a place where the mundane yields to the magical. A child runs beneath it, chasing butterflies. A neighbor pauses, admiring roses draped like jewels. A gardener lingers, brushing fingertips along the petals, remembering that beauty often comes from the simplest materials. And so the archway stands, rustic yet regal, whispering that even fallen branches, once forgotten, can rise again to frame dreams. Through it, every small garden becomes larger, not in space, but in spirit. At first glance, the idea seems simple. A fence made not from wood or steel, but from bottles once tossed aside. Yet when seen in the summer sun, the transformation feels almost magical. Rows of bottles, painted in cheerful colors of turquoise, yellow, and blush, stand upright in the soil, forming a border that is both playful and practical. They frame a garden bed like jewels set into the earth, turning trash into a spectacle of charm. The flowers inside bloom with greater pride. Petunias spill over their rims, daisies nod their white heads, and herbs grow lush and fragrant. Even vegetables seem to swell with confidence as the fence surrounds them, giving a sense of order and care. Children run past, pointing at the shimmering bottles, while neighbors pause, curious about how something so ordinary could become so beautiful. Making a bottle fence is a craft of patience, but not of difficulty. Bottles are collected, washed, and painted with outdoor-safe colors. Holes may be filled with soil or sand for weight, giving the bottle strength against the wind. Then, One by one, they are pressed into the ground, close enough to stand firm, yet arranged with patterns of color that reflect the gardener's imagination. The result is a fence that costs almost nothing but gives everything: beauty, durability, and a voice that says sustainability can also be joyful. In small gardens, patios, and backyards where space is limited, this DIY border brings personality without crowding. It is more than just edging. It is art born of recycling, a celebration of color, and a reminder that charm often grows from the most unexpected places. And when the summer light catches each bottle, glowing like glass lanterns, the fence whispers a secret. Even the smallest, discarded things can stand tall when given purpose. Not every garden needs grand sculptures to feel alive. Sometimes, the smallest creatures can bring the greatest joy. Along the edges of a summer garden, ordinary stones have been transformed into playful companions. A turtle with a green shell rests quietly. A ladybug painted in bright red dots peeks from behind marigolds, and a cheerful frog smiles beneath the leaves of petunias. Together, they form a border that delights the eyes and softens the heart. Each stone carries its own story. Some were once heavy and gray, overlooked by paths and streams. Now, brushed with outdoor-safe paint and a spark of imagination, they have taken on new life. A hedgehog with spiky strokes guards a patch of thyme, while a wise owl watches over basil leaves. Children laugh when they spot them, neighbors smile, and the garden itself feels richer, alive with color and character. The making of stone animals is an art anyone can try. Large, smooth stones are collected and cleaned. With acrylic or weather-resistant paints, simple outlines are drawn: round shells for turtles, dots for ladybugs, wings for butterflies. Details grow with each stroke, transforming the texture of rock into feathers, shells, or fur. Once dry, a coat of sealant protects them against sun and rain, ensuring the animals remain bright and strong through the seasons. Placed along a garden border, they do more than edge the soil. They tell a story of care and creativity, turning trash into treasure and adding whimsy to even the smallest space. They invite imagination. Perhaps children imagine them coming alive at night, or gardeners see them as guardians of the blooms. In the end, the stones remind us of a simple truth: nature and creativity walk hand in hand. With just a little paint, a garden grows not only in beauty but also in spirit, alive with animals that never move, yet always bring joy. In the quiet corner of a small backyard, an old tire rests, not as waste, but as the foundation of something serene. Where once rubber met the road, now water shimmers, reflecting the soft glow of summer light. Painted in colors of turquoise and mint, the tire becomes a frame for life, holding a pond that feels like a window into another world. The water within stirs gently, alive with movement. Goldfish dart between roots, their scales catching sparks of sunlight. Lilies bloom wide, floating like stars across the surface, while reeds rise gracefully, swaying in the breeze. Dragonflies hover above, wings flashing like stained glass. What was once forgotten and unwanted now carries the rhythm of nature itself, a sanctuary born from simplicity. Making a tire pond is a craft of care and transformation. The tire is cleaned, its shape cut or left whole, then sunk into the ground or set on a patio. Waterproof lining ensures the water rests safely, while stones are arranged to hide edges and add beauty. Plants, lotus, lilies, or reeds, are placed gently into the water, their roots eager to spread. A few fish bring movement, completing the circle of life. The pond does more than decorate. It cools the air around it, invites wildlife into the garden, and soothes the soul with its reflection. Each ripple whispers of sustainability, of beauty found in the discarded. Neighbors stop and marvel, unable to believe that such elegance began with something as humble as an old tire. Children lean close, eyes wide as fish dart past, and the gardener smiles, knowing that in a tiny space, a world of wonder can exist, all framed by a circle once considered trash. When space is scarce, imagination grows tall. Along a fence or wall, bottles once emptied of water or soda now stand proud as vertical gardens. Cut, painted, and replanted, they breathe new life into small spaces, transforming a dull fence into a tapestry of green and color. Each bottle tells its story. Some cradle herbs, basil leaves glistening with dew, parsley stretching upward, thyme spreading with fragrance. Others burst with blooms. Marigolds glow like suns. Petunias spill petals of pink and purple. Daisies nod their bright faces to the light. Even vegetables, humble lettuce and spinach, lean out of their plastic homes, lush and thriving. What was once trash now feeds both the eye and the table. Creating bottle vertical planters is an act of both craft and care. Bottles are cut with openings large enough for soil and roots. Holes at the base ensure water drains well. Each is painted in cheerful summer tones: mint, turquoise, buttercream, or left transparent for a rustic touch. Then, with nails, screws, or sturdy twine, they are fixed to fences, walls, or wooden frames, arranged in neat rows or playful patterns. Soil fills the bottles, seedlings are planted, and soon, a living wall begins to grow. The magic lies not only in beauty, but in practicality. In small backyards and patios where ground space is limited, vertical gardens stretch possibilities upward. They save space, recycle waste, and create a fresh, vibrant corner where there was once nothing but emptiness. Neighbors walking past cannot help but stop, eyes drawn to the rainbow of bottles and the cascade of greenery. Children reach out to touch, curious at how plants grow sideways and upward. And the gardener smiles, proud of a creation that is as functional as it is enchanting, a reminder that walls can hold life, and even bottles can bloom. There is a certain poetry in wood that has fallen, roots once hidden now revealed, branches once reaching skyward now resting on the earth. In a small summer garden, these pieces of nature find new purpose as borders, lines drawn not by plastic or stone, but by the very veins of the forest. Twisted roots curve gracefully into patterns, while sturdy branches stand firm like rustic walls. Together, they form an edging that feels ancient, as if the garden itself has grown from their embrace. Inside the borders, life flourishes. Chrysanthemums bloom in layers of gold, asters spread their star-shaped petals, and leafy greens rise confidently from rich soil. The contrast is striking, the raw, weathered texture of bark against the fresh vibrancy of plants. Each border tells a story of renewal, of nature recycling itself into beauty and strength. Building such a border is as simple as collecting what nature has already offered. Fallen branches are chosen for sturdiness, roots for their unique curves. They are cut or arranged to fit the garden's lines, then pressed into the soil or tied with twine for extra hold. Some gardeners weave smaller sticks between larger ones, creating patterns of strength and artistry. Over time, moss may grow across the wood, adding softness and age to its character. This border is not just edging. It is a conversation between past and present. The roots remind us of where trees once stood, the branches of where they once reached. Now, in a backyard or tiny yard, they frame the future, holding herbs, flowers, and vegetables with rustic grace. Neighbors see it as art, children see it as a fairy fence, and the gardener sees it as balance, recycling not through force, but through harmony. For in these borders, the garden is no longer merely planted, it is rooted in story. Every garden, no matter how small, holds a journey, and sometimes that journey is written not in words, but in stones. A mosaic pathway winds its way through a tiny yard, turning a simple walk into a work of art. Each stone, once plain and overlooked, has been painted with color, some bold like crimson and turquoise, others soft like mint and rose. Together, they form patterns that speak of joy, creativity, and transformation. The path begins at the garden's edge, leading through blooms of daisies, lavender, and marigolds. With each step, colors shimmer under the summer sun, creating a walkway that feels alive. Neighbors pause at the sight, their eyes tracing the swirls and shapes. Children skip along, choosing stones like stepping into a game. What was once ordinary becomes unforgettable as the pathway itself becomes a destination. Crafting such a mosaic is both art and therapy. Flat stones are collected, cleaned, and painted with outdoor-safe acrylics. Patterns can be simple, alternating colors, or intricate, with spirals, stars, or geometric designs. Once painted, each stone is placed firmly in the soil or set in sand, fitted together like puzzle pieces. Over time, the pathway grows, stretching further, adding new chapters to the garden's story. But beyond beauty, the path carries meaning. It shows that even discarded stones can shine again, that art can live beneath our very steps. In tiny yards and patios, where space is precious, the mosaic pathway expands the sense of place, guiding the eyes and the heart deeper into the garden. And when evening falls, The last rays of light catch the stones, glowing softly as if they hold a memory of the day. In those moments, the garden whispers. Every step you take here is part of a story, painted not only on stones, but also in the soul. In the heart of a summer garden, old tires rise not as relics of the road, but as thrones for flowers. Painted in cheerful tones, lavender, mint, and turquoise, they stack gracefully, each one cradling a crown of blooms. Petunias spill over like rivers of color, marigolds blaze with golden fire, and daisies lift their faces to the sun. What once was rough and black now stands regal, transformed into seats of beauty where nature sits in majesty. The process is both playful and purposeful. Tires are cleaned, scrubbed, and given coats of outdoor paint, turning dull rubber into canvases of imagination. Some are cut and reshaped to create patterns, others stacked for height and drama. Once filled with rich soil, they become homes for flowers chosen to thrive in summer. Geraniums for cascades, chrysanthemums for fullness, roses for elegance. With time, the thrones overflow, the flowers spilling as if eager to break their boundaries. But these thrones are more than decoration. They give new dignity to what was once discarded. They lift flowers closer to the sun, making them visible even from a distance. They add dimension and height to tiny gardens and patios, creating layers of beauty where once there was flatness. And they invite conversation. Neighbors stop to admire, children run to touch, and the gardener smiles with pride. To sit near a tire throne is to be reminded of resilience. Rubber once weathered with dust now carries life, painted bright, rooted deep, crowned with blossoms. Each bloom whispers that beauty can be built upon what others throw away. And in that whisper, the garden becomes not just a place of plants, but a gallery of transformation, proof that even the humblest of thrones can hold a kingdom of flowers. Sometimes fences are built not to divide, but to delight. In a tiny summer garden, what was once a dull wooden barrier has been transformed into a shimmering curtain of color. Plastic bottles, once destined for the trash, have been cut, painted, and strung together into strands that sway gently with the breeze. As the sunlight filters through, the colors glow like stained glass, casting playful reflections on the garden below. Each bottle carries its own charm. Some have been cut into strips that flutter like ribbons, others carved into flower-like shapes that twinkle as they move. Painted in hues of turquoise, red, and buttercream, they hang side by side, forming a curtain that is both rustic and enchanting. Children pause to watch them sway. Neighbors smile at their ingenuity, and the gardener feels a quiet pride in turning waste into wonder. The making of a bottle curtain fence is a balance of craft and creativity. Bottles are collected, cleaned, and carefully cut into desired shapes. Holes are pierced at the top, and strong twine or wire threads them together into vertical strings. These strings are then attached to a wooden frame or an existing fence, creating rows that dance with every gust of wind. A coat of outdoor paint or even simple transparent colors gives them life. Beyond its beauty, the curtain fence offers practicality. It adds privacy to a tiny yard, softens the harshness of walls, and creates a playful boundary that costs little but offers much. As sunlight shifts throughout the day, the curtain changes too, sometimes glowing bright, sometimes casting gentle shadows. And so the fence becomes more than a barrier. It becomes a stage curtain, unveiling the garden as a theater of creativity. What was once trash now shimmers as art, reminding us that beauty often comes not from what we buy, but from what we choose to transform. At the edge of a summer garden, a line of stones tells a story not of gray, but of color. Painted in the hues of the rainbow, each rock becomes a note in a joyful melody, red blazing like fire, blue as calm as the sky, green alive with hope. Together, they form a border that does more than frame flowers. They create a celebration that dances in the sunlight. The garden within the border glows brighter because of it. Petunias lean against the stones as if seeking their color. Daisies echo the yellows around them, and marigolds blaze even stronger beside orange-painted rocks. Herbs grow lush inside the frame, their greens mirrored by the painted stones that guard them. Children see the border as a rainbow on the ground, skipping along its line. Neighbors smile, surprised by how something so simple can carry so much joy. Making a rainbow stone border is a craft of patience and imagination. Large stones are chosen, cleaned, and dried. With outdoor-safe paints, each one is brushed with a different hue, some bold and solid, others playful with stripes or dots. Once dry, the stones are pressed firmly into the soil, forming a strong edging around flower beds, pathways, or vegetable patches. A coat of clear sealant protects them from rain and time, ensuring the rainbow endures. Beyond beauty, the border carries meaning. It speaks of diversity, of recycling, of finding wonder in the ordinary. It shows that even stones, once lifeless and heavy, can carry light and joy when given purpose. And in the smallest yards and patios, where space is precious, this rainbow offers an instant transformation, making gardens feel alive, magical, and unforgettable. When the sun sets and the last light falls across the stones, the colors still whisper softly, holding on to summer's warmth. The rainbow stays, a promise painted into the earth, reminding us that beauty begins with what we choose to create. At the edge of a summer garden, laughter lives in the form of tires. Once worn and heavy from the road, they now sit painted and reshaped into a parade of animals. A frog with wide green eyes watches over marigolds. A turtle with a patterned shell sits low among the daisies. And a bright red chicken stands proudly at the corner of the border. Together, they create not just edging, but a carnival of color and character. The garden behind them feels alive with personality. Children wander closer, pointing out each creature with delight. Neighbors pause, smiling at the playfulness, surprised at how tires could become animals. What was once trash has turned into guardians of joy, framing flowers and vegetables while sparking imagination. The making of tire animals is a craft of patience and creativity. Tires are cut with care, their curves reshaped into forms that hint at ears, shells, or wings. Outdoor paint brings them to life: green for frogs, blue for fish, red for birds, yellow for turtles. Details are added with simple brushes: eyes, spots, feathers, or scales. Once complete, they are pressed partly into the soil, forming borders strong enough to endure the weather, yet whimsical enough to delight. But beyond their playfulness, these borders speak of transformation. They prove that recycling can be more than practical, it can be magical. Old rubber, once dismissed, now carries charm and purpose. The edging does its job, holding soil and framing plants. But it also tells a story. That creativity turns limits into laughter. As the sun sets, the painted animals glow softly, their colors still vivid against the fading light. The garden becomes a stage, and the tire animals its characters, silent, sturdy, and always ready to bring smiles. In the smallest of spaces, they remind us that beauty and fun can grow from what others leave behind. At the boundary of a tiny summer garden lies a border that is more than decoration. It is life itself. Plastic bottles, once tossed aside, are now filled with water and pressed into the soil, forming a line of shimmering guardians. Each one glistens under the sun, their clear surfaces catching the light like glass lanterns. But their beauty is not only in their glow, it is in their purpose. They feed the garden silently, drop by drop. Within the border, plants thrive. Tomatoes swell red and round. Peppers ripen with heat. Basil and thyme spread leaves lush with fragrance. Flowers too, petunias and marigolds, bloom brighter, nourished by the steady gift of water. Even in the dry days of summer, the soil remains moist, life held steady by bottles reborn. Creating a hydro border is as practical as it is creative. Bottles are cleaned and filled with water, some painted in pastel tones, others left clear. Small holes are made near their caps, allowing water to release slowly. Buried halfway into the ground and lined along the garden bed, they form a border that not only defines space but sustains it. With every drop, they prove that recycling can carry strength and purpose. Neighbors may see only a clever edge, but the gardener knows its secret: resilience. In small spaces where water is precious, this border becomes a lifeline. It saves time, conserves resources, and keeps plants thriving without constant care. At dusk, as the last light fades, the bottles still shine faintly, holding the day's glow and tomorrow's promise. And in their quiet work, they remind us of a truth simple and profound, that even the smallest, most ordinary things, when given purpose, can sustain a garden and perhaps even a dream.